just the impact that you can have on people.
Yeah, I didn't realize it. I lost my dad to COVID actually a couple days before Christmas, so a couple months ago. And it's okay, thank you. I had guys, I mean, that I haven't spoken to in 15, 20 years, but that played with me as a youth player, that were coached by him, that I had kids that played for me later, played whether, it was at the Village or all these other groups. When it reaches that level, that's when I know, okay, yeah, I'm doing something right, and they reached out the moment that dad died, and I was like, man, part of me felt terrible because I was like, dude, I haven't talked to you in like 20 years, I said, but that's the gravity of the power that we have. That's I think at the deepest roots of what we do. That's what we're doing. That's the power that we hold. And like I said, whether that's a youth coach, a high school coach, a college coach, a camp coach, or whatever, you can have that impact on somebody to where, even 20 years later, without saying a word, when something like that does happen, they're the first one to message you and say, hey man, I'm so sorry. He was a wonderful person, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, man, that type stuff not only has kept me going throughout this just one small certain thing, but that helps me fuel the fire for pretty much everything I'm doing in so many different ways.
They're going to continue on or they're not. And
that's really cool.
I went through the recruiting process, no different than everyone else. But the thing was, my dad, who was very passionate into coaching, had coached for a really long time, decided to, bring me out to practices and no different than a lot of other coaches' stories, I feel like, how they got into it. So I was picking up cones, kicking balls around, listening to him, hearing him. And he was really busy with work all the time, and coaching with him became this like way that myself and my brother, who's actually the head coach of the men's team at Windsor, and how this kind of family bonding thing we did. And I started coaching my first team. I coached a U9 boys team at 16 years old.
The cool thing that I heard, I think it's cool that the coaching was an opportunity for you and your brother and your dad to have some of those close moments, like you said, because of his work schedule and stuff. So there wasn't those opportunities to kind of like hang out and do the dad son kind of things. Was his coaching and all that, was that a huge influence on you deciding like, hey, coaching's something that I think I want to get into as well?
Yeah, my dad had a very rough, tough exterior. He was that guy. He was that, if I didn't get straight A's, he didn't like that very much. He was always giving me the pep talk on the way home. But the one thing, he was always rough and tough to me. But then he was really tough on his players. I'm not sure his coaching style would do well in 2021, to be honest with you.
Different time back then, wasn't
it? In saying that, I saw the way kids admired him and looked up to him, and he was influential. And there's a lot of kids now who played at high levels or have played at high levels who were very influenced by him. And the biggest impact for his coaching on me throughout my entire life was when he passed away. I didn't want to go down this path, but anyways, here we are, because it is a big influence on where I'm at. When he passed away 3.5 years ago, his former players from Michigan, from Florida, from here that sent messages randomly, like I don't even know how they found out that he'd passed away, about like your dad was this, your dad was that. It was so great. Really it opened my eyes to how much of an influence we actually have on players as coaches, and it grew my passion even deeper. So yeah, being around him and seeing that beyond the family bonding stuff, it really has shaped, I guess, why I'm even in the game.
That is so cool. I literally got chills on my
yeah, arm. I was going to say, I was not expecting to go down that road. It's not a story I tell a lot. I really, anytime I speak to recruits or players or clubs about the University of Windsor, I always emphasize our culture is built on the idea of family, because I'm lucky enough that my brother is also the men's coach, and we're able to work together a lot, but it's the most important thing to me. So
at one point, I'm sure when I was in my youth and growing up, I think I did have an idea that I may want to coach one time, but I never really thought, oh, I'm going to get married and have kids and I'm going to coach them. I have a younger brother, and so when I was 13 or 14, I was helping train their team a little bit as best as I could. But when I started playing soccer, my dad was my coach, and the way that worked was my sister, who is older than me, she brought home a flyer one day from elementary school talking about, hey, join the soccer team. And my dad was totally against it. Soccer, no, we're not doing soccer. We hate soccer. And I don't know, he was, more of a football, baseball type of guy. And my mom's like, no, I'm going to sign her up. She wants to play. So she signed her up, and, they were going to games. My dad went to one of her games to support her, and he instantly fell in love with the game. I mean, like, completely fell in love with the game, so much where he started reading books, learning as much as he could about the game, decided to coach and put me on the team. I had no idea what soccer was. I mean, who knows how I would play. He just started a team, and the rest was history. I mean, we became basically soccer was our religion growing up. I mean, that's all we did, from going to tournaments, practice. I mean, it was year-round soccer. And my dad also coached an older team, about 4 or 5 years older than me, because they had some inner politics within the team. My dad said, well, I'll coach them. So he was coaching that team and my team. And I looked up to that team, like, because they were just so much bigger and old and faster. And I'm like, man, they're so great. I want to play on that team. But he never put me on that team. But I mentioned that team because what struck me was when my dad passed about 9 years ago, a lot of those players from that older team came to his funeral, and they presented him with this plaque. And I remember looking at that plaque, and what the plaque said was, Coach Hurley, thank you for helping us become the men that we are today. And that hit me so hard, because I looked at it, it's like, that's why I want to coach. That's why I'm still coaching these girls. That's why I still want to do this, because of the impact that coaching has on the youth. And if I can have just a little bit of impact, then it would be, I would feel like, hey, that's a great fulfillment. That's just great. And that's what got me into it. My wife said, do you want to coach? Because that experience of my dad coaching me, I wanted to also give to my son, and now I'm giving it to my daughter as well.